everybody, Sticks here at the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck centered around Celebi Prime and Genesect. Celebi from Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Triumphant, and Genesect EX from Plasma Storm, Plasma Blast. I think it was Plasma Blast, actually. I don't know. There were too many Plasmas. I think it's Plasma Blast, but anyway. Before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It helps us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, what is your favorite quote-unquote cute legendary? And this includes like all of the 100 base stat across the board legendaries and even Diancie, even though that thing kind of messed up the 100 base stat across the board. But that's Pokemon like Mew, first gen, Celebi, then it was Jirachi, then Manaphy, and 5th gen was Victini, and 6th gen was Diancie, and I might be missing one, I'm not 100% sure, but which one of those is your favorite and why? Gun to my head, I would have to say that my favorite would be Jirachi, just because, once again, when I was playing competitive Pokemon, Jirachi was one of my favorite things to use in Underused, just because of the Trick Scarf set that I love to use, and it also just shut down a lot of threats and stuff like that. But also, I would have to say that Celebi as well, and yes, I know that I'm using both of those right now in this deck, but I mean, that's partially why I thought of that question. Celebi, besides being just an all-around awesome Pokemon with a ton of versatility, it had the Perish Song set that I absolutely loved back then, and it was a perfect counter to Crocoon. So all of that, and then also in the TCG, Jirachi is just kind of a great card and expanded to be able to dig out any supporter that you want, and then Celebi, I mean, it doesn't really have much use outside of Celebi Prime. I mean, I haven't really seen many good Celebis lately. I mean, you do have the Time Recall Celebi EX and the one with the Leap Through Time where your opponent doesn't take a prize card if you flip heads. But I mean, it's like, it hasn't been too ridiculously overpowered. I still like Celebi, but I would probably have to give the slight edge to Jirachi. But leave your comment in the comment section below which one of those guys is your favorite and why. Anyway, on to the deck. Now, I know a ton of people have put out decks for Legacy format centered around Celebi Genesect, and I mean, I decided to do my own take on it just because this deck is freaking awesome. It's so powerful, it's so fast, and actually, I think it's the best deck in the Legacy format right now. I mean, granted, it does just kind of lose to, like, Reshiabor or Reshflosion and stuff like that, but it's still a very, very, very good deck and a very fast deck, and if you can get it set up, then you will just kind of run through your opponent's team. But anyway, I mean, I've seen a lot of decks that are just streamlined for Celebi, for Genesect, and then one Virizion. I decided to like kind of tech it out a little bit. And anyway, onto the Pokemon. I am running one Smeargle for the Portrait ability once during your turn. If Smeargle is your active Pokemon, you may look at your opponent's hand. If you do, choose a supporter card you find there and use it and use the effect of that card as the effect of this power. It can't be used if Smeargle is affected by a special condition. This is great for like your first turn if you're really just kind of digging for another switch or another energy or something like that to get the first turn Megalo Cannon or G-Booster. Smeargle is great for that. And also putting something up that you could potentially just like, oh, it's okay, I can sack Smeargle, it's not a big deal, and then just go from there. So Smeargle is great, and then back in like 2012, I think that was everywhere. So I'm giving Smeargle a little bit of a shout out just because I think that that's a really, really cool card, and I like it, so I threw it into this deck. And now as for the centerpiece of this deck, I am running 3-3 of Celebi Prime and Genesect. Celebi Prime has the amazing Poke Power. Forest Breath, once during your turn, if Celebi is your active Pokemon, you may attach a Grass Energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Can't be used if Celebi is affected by special conditions. Celebi also has this really, really nifty 1 retreat cost, so when you couple it with like Sky Arrow Bridge, you are able to retreat for free. So just put up a Celebi Prime, go ahead and use the Poke Power attached to Genesect, use like a Colress machine or something, attach another, and then use your manual attachment for another Grass Energy, and guess what? You have a turn 1 Megalo Cannon with Genesect EX, which is the second part of this little duo of destruction. Genesect EX had its heyday, I think, in 2014 when it won Nationals and was both, well, not just Nationals. Actually, I don't know if it won Nationals. It won Worlds, I know that, because it was Igor Costa against, I think it was Enrique, I think. I don't remember exactly, but either way, Genesect EX was just so good. 170 HP, so not that bulky, but with the red signal ability, when you play a plasma energy from your hand onto this Pokemon, it's basically a Lysander, and you can bring out an opponent's Pokemon, which is absolutely phenomenal, especially in the Legacy format, when you normally have to rely on Pokemon Catcher or Pokemon Reversal, both of which rely on coin flips. And then Megalo Cannon, 2 Grass Energy and a regular, and any energy, does 100 damage and does 20 to an opponent's bench Pokemon. So, I mean, Genesect is okay in itself, but it's really not overwhelmingly good. What makes it so good is G-Booster. 200 damage attached to Genesect. It needs the same amount of energy as Megalo Cannon, so you're doing 200 damage for 3 energy, which in itself is pretty ridiculous, but its effect, well, first off, you have to discard 2 energies, which really isn't that big of a deal given what cards you have in this deck, and this attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon. Now, that is nuts. So things like Latias or Safeguard Pokemon, you just go right through and one-shot them. So Genesect is absolutely amazing, and especially with G-Booster just makes it that much better. I'm also running 2 Virizion as opposed to the normal 1. I like 2 just because not only are you reliant on Verdant Wind to be able to avoid all status conditions with Hypnotoxic Laser running rampant in the Legacy metagame, but also Emerald Slash is pretty great, so if you start with a Virizion, you can just go ahead and attach a Grass Energy to it, attach another one next turn, and then be able to Emerald Slash for 50 while also accelerating to the Genesect. So you have 2 forms of accelerating energy to Genesect. Virizion is awesome for knocking out those low HP Pokemon while also accelerating. So, I mean, that Pokemon just works great, and I really, really like it, so I decided to run 2 in this deck. And then I'm running 2 Jirachi because, I mean, Jirachi is great for grabbing like a Pokemon Collector first turn, Shadow Triad later if you need a G-Booster or something like that. So I'm running 2 of those guys, and also because Shaman isn't in this metagame. So Jirachi is my makeshift Shaman, and so is Smeargle to an extent. I'm only running 1 Colress machine because really you want to be attaching manually the plasma energy so that you can use red signal. But then again, having the Colress machine early on can give you a first turn Megalo Cannon. So that's always nice and is just a nice option to have in this deck. So that's why I threw one in there. Running 4 Dual Ball because all of our Pokemon are basic. We're running no evolution, so there is almost 0 reason to run Ultra Ball over Dual Ball, just because Dual Ball you don't have to discard energy. I mean, granted, you can get 2 Tails sometimes, and that sucks, but I don't know. I think Dual Ball is just so much better. I mean, Ultra Ball is guaranteed, but Dual Ball statistically is pretty much guaranteed because, I mean, it's very... There's like a 25% chance that you don't get anything, but there's also a 25% chance you get 2, so it kind of evens out, and with my luck with coin flips, I do get 2 Tails a lot, so that sucks. But I mean, I don't know. Dual Ball is just a great, great, great card in Legacy, and I think it's so powerful that there's a reason it hasn't been reprinted. 1 Energy Search just to bring a Grass Energy into our hand if you need it. 3 Energy Switches. I mean, like I said with Celebi and Smeargle, you can't use their Poke Powers or abilities. Actually, both of these are Poke Powers. That was the Heart Gold Soul Silver thing. If they are affected by a status condition. And with Virizion's Verdant Wind, you can attach a Grass Energy to it, use their Pokemon Power, or Poke Power, and then use an Energy Switch to put it on a Genesect or Virizion, whatever you actually want the energy to go onto. So it really just allows for a lot of versatility in the deck. 1 Escape Rope and 1 Switch. That way you can have a Celebi active, switch into another Celebi on the bench, or just retreat into one, and then retreat into your Genesect. So you attach 2 energy with Forest Breath, but also we're able to use your retreat to go into the Genesect to be able to attack. 4 Junk Arm. I mean, Junk Arm is freaking broken. This thing is... Well, this thing was just replaced by an A-Spec that did the exact same thing. I mean, discard 2 and grab a trainer card. I mean, that's how powerful Junk Arm is. I would be stupid not to run 4 of them. I'm running 1 Lost Remover, and this is where I kind of teched a little bit, because that helps me with other matchups like Plasma and stuff like that, to where I might have a little bit of trouble, but with Lost Remover, I can just start throwing all those energy into the Lost Zone to where my opponent can't even ride Knuckle to get them back, or raid Knuckle, however you want to say it. And then with Junk Arm, you can just keep using it if you need it, but I'm only running 1 because it's very matchup reliant. 1 Super Rod to get some stuff back in the deck if I overextend. 1 Switch, like I said, because of the Escape Rope. 1 Tool Scrapper to get rid of Silver Mirror and stuff like that, because otherwise that would stop Genesect without the G-Booster. And then as for the supporters, I am running 1 Colress because usually you have a very full bench, so if your opponent has more than 1, it is a great, great card to use and is better than Oak. 4-2 of N and Juniper. I mean, this is like the 4-2 of N and Sycamore that I always like to run. 3 Oak, and don't worry, I didn't forget about Collector. I'll be getting right back to that. 3 Oak because, again, this is an amazing, amazing card in the Legacy format. Shuffle your hand and draw 6 cards. So, I mean, that's basically an N where you don't have to give your opponent a new hand, and I'm running more than these. I'm running more Oaks than Ns just because, I don't know, I like Oak and I don't want to give my opponent a fresh hand a lot of times. I mean, that's the position that Igor Costa was in the championship, and it ended up actually making him lose the game. 1 Shadow Triad to get back G-Booster, Colress Machine, a Genesect, a Plasma Energy, basically whatever you need. Shadow Triad is very, very versatile. And then 2 Skyla, I'm running 2 as opposed to 1 that I normally run in Legacy and Standard because you don't have access to VS, well, yeah, that I usually run in Expanded and Standard, not Legacy. This is Legacy. Really, in Legacy, you don't have access to the VS Seeker, so Skyla is great for just grabbing whatever you need. 3 Sky Arrow Bridge to give literally everything in my deck free retreat. 1 G-Booster as the A-Spec because, I mean, it lets Genesect be an absolute monster. And then 4 Plasma Energy and 9 of the Grass Energy to be able to almost always have energy when you absolutely need it. So, I mean, that's a deck. I have rambled way too long, and I mean, you'll be able to see in action what it does and how well it works. So, you know what? I'm just going to shut up now and let you guys see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against a nice and low 22 with a Psychic deck, so I don't know, I mean, normally you can tell, like, in Expanded and Legacy from what your opponent's using, what type of deck this is going to be, but really in, well, Expanded and Standard, I keep saying Expanded and, Standard and Legacy, but in Expanded and Standard, you can normally tell generally what type of deck your opponent is going to use based on what they, well, I mean, what am I trying to say? You can generally tell what type of deck your opponent is going to use based on the types, but in Legacy it could literally be almost anything just because of the huge expanse of cards that you have available to you. And I start with a Virizion and a Genesect. I don't start with the Celebi, which is a little unfortunate, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and Skyla for a Dual Ball, I think, to get some more stuff out potentially. Because, I mean, I have a Juniper and an N in my hand, so I might as well just go ahead and get whatever I need. And I do get 1 heads. What I could have also done is played the Jirachi down and then gone for a Collector to get some more stuff on the bench. But you know what? I think that was a pretty good first turn. Like I said, I could have Jirachi to get a Collector and put down 2 Celebi and a Genesect or something like that. But you know what? I don't want to clog my bench up with another Jirachi, and I don't think I'll need it in this match, especially because I'm about to be able to just start attacking with Emerald Slash from Virizion, and I won't be able to knock out the Ralts, but it will put pressure on my opponent. And my opponent actually just ends, so I get a completely new hand, and that is 100% okay with me. I was just going to Juniper away everything in this way. I don't have to get rid of any of my energy switches and stuff like that. And alright, I actually get a really good starting hand, and of course, oh my gosh. My opponent is that guy who just runs random Crushing Hammers in a deck. I don't know what this deck is. I mean, it looks like a Gardevoir or Gallade Cofagrigus deck, which I'm actually completely unfamiliar with. I don't know which Gallade they're using or which Gardevoir they're using. I'm not sure what they use, and I'm just going to go ahead and Forest's Breath to an energy onto, I think, do I want Virizion or Genesect? I think I can play it safe or go aggro. You know what? Let's just go aggressive. See if I can get another Celebi or something like that. Alright, I get 2 Dual Balls. Hopefully I don't get 2 tails on both. Well, there's 2 tails on one. And there is 2 tails on the other. Alright, so that sucks. And I mean, that's an instance where Ultra Ball's better than Dual Ball. But I mean, what are the odds of that? That's actually really, really low. The odds of that... So let's see, there's 50, then 25, then there's a 6.25% chance of that happening right then. And I'm just going to go ahead and Energy Search for a Grass Energy, retreat into my other Celebi, and then Forest Breath. I really didn't need to. I could have just manually manually attached. But, I mean, this way I have style points. And I can always just Jirachi for a Junk Arm next turn to be able to get that Energy Search back if I want to start Megalo Cannoning. So, I'm in a very, very good position. It's not nearly as fast as I wanted it to be. Because, I mean, usually I can actually get a Megalo Cannon off turn 1 a lot of times, just because of the Celebis and stuff like that. And I even just top deck the Junk Arm, so I can go ahead, get rid of the Tool Scrapper and the Jirachi. I don't need either of those to grab the Energy Search. Go ahead and play that down to grab another Grass Energy, maybe? Yep, go ahead and get that. I can power up my Genesect completely. I'm going to go ahead and Forest Breath, just cause, in case I get a Plasma Energy that I want to play down. And yeah, alright, so we're going to have a Genesect ready and going to knock out Yamasks and one-shot like Ralts and stuff like that. And unfortunately, my opponent did not get going, and alright, right then I was going to go ahead and retreat into the Genesect and save the Plasma Energy for when I really needed to, well, essentially Lysandre something in or bring something active. I didn't need to at the time, but I was just going to go ahead and start Megalo-Cannoning, and I think my opponent wasn't able to keep up, and he really wasn't just able to evolve, and that was it. I mean, I go 1 for 6 on heads, so that was a bit unfortunate, but I mean, that's the risk you take with Dual Ball. I still think it's more than worth it, though. But anyway, I'm not going to count that. Let's just go ahead and try to find another match with this deck. Alrighty, we have found one against Skyraker with a Water, Electric, and Grass deck, and you know what? I actually haven't seen those types together in a long time. I'm wondering what deck this is, but I mean, it could be Prime Time, which would be really, really cool to face, because that was one of the top decks way back in, I think, 2012 or something like that. But I mean, if this is Prime Time, that'd be a really, really cool deck, because you have one of the best decks, if not the best deck of the past versus probably the best deck in Legacy right now. And okay, that's exactly what they're facing. I'm actually really, really excited for this because I am a huge fan of Prime Time. I mean, you have the Yanmega Prime, you have the Kingdra Prime, you have Magnezone Prime. And I mean, it really is a matchup of, like I said, it's a matchup of the old best versus the new best. And it really just shows how I think this matchup will show how the Legacy format is not exactly the same as the old metagames, because I mean, Prime Time, like I said way back when, was one of the best, if not the best deck out there, because I mean, you have Magnezone Prime who can hit for a ton, you have Yanmega Prime who can attack for free, you have Kingdra Prime who can start just doing damage to stuff on the bench, I mean, slowly accumulate damage, and then you have Magnezone to come in and also support Yanmega at the same time with the magnetic draw in order to be able to compare hand sizes. And I mean, I think this will really show that, because I mean, my deck is going to be a heck of a lot faster than Prime Time, because I'm already going to be able to take a knockout turn 1 just with the Emerald Slash, and I do have to get rid of 2 energy switches. I don't think that is particularly necessary, but alright, get 2 dual balls, hopefully. Alright, so that makes up for the very bad draws last time. I'm going to grab another Virizion and maybe a Celebi. Yeah, I mean, Yanmega will be able to linear attack, but then that will mean, or is it linear attack? I think Sonic Boom and linear attack, but you know what? I don't want to load up too many low HP Pokemon on my bench, because that's one way my opponent can take prizes. But I'm going to put a Celebi there just in case I need it. And then go ahead and Emerald Slash. 1, take a prize, and 2, power up my Genesect on the bench. So, I mean, I'm actually really, really excited. I have not run into a Primetime deck in Legacy, actually. This is the first time I'm running into that, and it was, like I said, it was one of my favorite decks to watch back in the day. I never had the deck. I just thought it was really, really cool, and yeah, I mean, now I get the chance to face it with a deck that I think is the best one that I could have, and I can even go ahead and attach me Plasma Energy to bring in the Magnemite or another Horsey, or really whatever I want to do. I'll just be able to start taking knockouts, well, keep taking knockouts with Emerald Slash while powering up my Pokemon. So this is precisely why I have Virizion in the deck, because you face decks like this that have low HP basics, and Virizion's able to knock them out and accelerate energy to Genesect. And Magnemite is actually the perfect HP to be able to knock out with Emerald Slash, and that is exactly what I'm actually going to go for, because the only thing I have to worry about from my opponent's deck is the Magnezone. Well, is the Magnezone Prime, because that thing is going to be very, very, very scary to deal with. And what do I want to send in? Circulator's annoying, but it's better than Catcher, because then my opponent will be able to bring in whatever he wants. I think I'm just going to go ahead and promote my Genesect. While I won't be able to get to keep powering up and start killing stuff with Emerald Slash, that is just fine. I can go ahead and attach the Plasma Energy and then start Megalo-Cannoning everything. But like I was saying, the Yanmega Primes on their own will not be able to knock out my Pokemon. The Magnezone Primes are what I have to worry about, and they are also the entire engine of my opponent's deck. So the sooner I can get rid of those, the more likely I will be able to just win the match. And I already think I have the advantage just because my deck is so much faster than my opponents. But that being said, I don't want to give them any chance to get set up. Because, I mean, once Primetime gets set up, it's actually a somewhat dangerous deck to face. Because, I mean, you have the Magnezone that your opponent can manually power up in the back. You have the, what do you have? You have the Magnezone that your opponent can manually power up in the back. You have the Yanmegas that are just doing chip damage here and there for free. And then you have the Kingdras that are turning the Yanmegas like 40 and 70 damage into 80 and 90, which can add up very quickly and can be a problem. And then you have Magnezone that can just come in if they have enough energy and just start taking knockouts. So I'm in a perfect position right now. I mean, I don't think there's anything my opponent can do to be able to, well, I guess avoid getting beat at this point. I mean, unless my opponent just draws very, very fortunately, and for whatever reason I just draw completely dead, which I don't think is even necessarily possible with this deck, just because I have so much set up right now. My opponent is even going to Circulator again. I mean, I guess that's for... I mean, I'm just going to promote the Virizion, because that will be able to knock out a Yanma in one hit. So... Alright, okay, my opponent is just going to judge. That is just fine. I mean, if my opponent gets a Yanmega Prime, well, guess what? Then our hands don't match. And if my opponent gets a Magnezone Prime, well, he can go from there. But, okay, we are in a great position. I'm in an even better one now because I have the Sky Arrow Bridge. What do I want to do? I mean, I kind of just want to sit on my hand. Yeah, screw it. I'm just going to go ahead and play the Sky Arrow. That way, if my opponent judges or ends me, it's not a big deal. But I think I'm just going to Skyla at this point. I don't even know what I want to get. Yeah, I'll just Skyla for a Juniper, show my opponent that I have something so he has to end or judge me next turn if he wants to get rid of that. But, I mean, I'm able to just set up completely. I have one Genesect with a G-Booster attached already, powered up and ready to go. I am going to have another Genesect with Megalo Cannon pretty much ready to go next turn, and I've already taken 3 prizes before my opponent has even taken 1. So, I mean, this is... Again, this is very indicative of the power creep in the Pokemon TCG. I mean, Primetime was the best deck of its era. Genesect, well, Primetime was arguably the best deck of its era. I don't want to say it was the best deck because, I mean, that's very up for debate. And then you have Virizion Genesect, which was easily the best deck of its era. I mean, that's not even necessarily up for debate because it was both decks in the World Championships, so it just kind of goes to show how powerful it is. And, I mean, when you get to combine Virizion Genesect, I mean, Virizion Genesect on its own, I think would be able to still beat Primetime. But when you combine that with something like Celebi, who can go ahead and just start, I mean, who can just make the deck that much better, then it is going to just be a very, very dangerous deck to play against. And that is why I think I am taking such a gigantic lead against Primetime. And my opponent is finally able to get up a Magnezone Prime and a Yanmega Prime. We still don't see the Kingdra Prime, which, I mean, really isn't going to be doing much. And, okay, my opponent, just making sure that my opponent does have to have the exact same hand size as me, which he can pretty easily get. And, alright, so my opponent does have the same hand size. Yanmega Prime will be able to attack for free. He was able to get an energy onto the Magnezone. And like I said, Magnezone is my target. I'm not worrying about the Yanmegas because those alone cannot beat this deck. Only the Magnezone, if my opponent's able to get enough energy, can start one-shotting my EXs, which will be a problem. But, like I said, Yanmega Prime is not a problem at all. And okay, so I think this is where I'm going to go ahead and start... Yeah, you know what? This is where I'm going to go ahead and start knocking out my opponent's EXs. I'm going to go ahead and retreat with my Virizion. I don't need it to attack anymore because I've already had it attack enough and set up. And I can even go ahead and energy switch. That way I can G-Booster to get rid of the Plasma and the Grass, but also have another G-Booster ready to go for next turn. And you know what? My Genesect is still just fine, and I knocked out the Yanmega Prime. I'm in no danger at all of the Magnezone knocking me out because he needs 4 energy to knock out my Genesect EX, and he doesn't have near that. And if I can get a Plasma Energy next turn, I can go ahead and bring that up and knock it out. So I'm just in a perfect position. As you saw with the Yanmega, it used its most powerful attack against me and only did 70 damage. That is not nearly enough to keep up with Virizion and Genesect. I mean, that's a 3-hit KO. on my EXs. I mean, he could potentially like linear attack on the Smeargle and the Celebi Prime to take prizes, but at the same time, if he's looking at those guys, then he's not attacking my EXs, which will just keep taking prizes against him. So I don't want to say there's no way I can lose, but I don't think there is, especially if my opponent just leaves his Magnemite active, because then I will still have a G-Booster ready to go. Yeah. I mean, if my opponent just leaves his Magnemite active, I will be able to knock it out with a Megalo Cannon and still have a G-Booster ready to go. So only if my opponent, even if my opponent has a Pokemon Circulator, I'll still be able to throw up my Virizion or my Genesect EX on the bench. Go ahead and manually retreat with those guys. And okay, my opponent technically does leave the Magnemite active. He just happened to evolve it into a Magnezone Prime in the process. So he has two Magnezone Primes, so he has Magnetic Draw out the wazoo. And that is completely fine because, I mean, I'm still just in a perfect position. Like, I can Energy Switch, I can just G-Booster to knock out the Magnezone Prime, I can, like, Plasma Energy to bring in a Magnemite so I can knock it out, Magnemite or Magneton to knock it out with Megalo Cannon. I could, actually, you know what, I think I might just Megalo Cannon the, So I think what I'm going to do is if I get a Plasma Energy, which I'm more than likely going to get because I have 3 Plasma Energy still left in the deck and I have a Juniper. So if I do get one, then I think I'm going to go ahead and bring in the... Actually, you know what? My opponent has 2 energy on the Magnezone Prime. That is too much of a threat, and he's going to start getting damage with the Kingdra. Okay, so I need to take out the Magnezone Prime next turn for sure, because if he gets another energy on it, Kingdra Prime will be able to put another damage counter on my Genesect to where Magnezone will be able to discard 3 energy and knock it out, and there goes my G-Booster, which is something that I don't think I mean, I could potentially afford to lose it in this game, but, I mean, why bother if you don't have to? So, what I'm going to do, like I said, is completely ignore the Kingdra and the Yanmega Prime, because those things can, well, I mean, I guess there isn't a Yanmega Prime out there, but ignore the Kingdra and the Yanma, because those things cannot take out my Genesects. The Magnezone Prime is the only thing that could potentially do that. And because I did get another energy, I will be down to 2 energy on my Genesect, but I have an energy in hand. I will be able to just attach that and G-Booster next turn for the win. So, I mean, I want to say that there's no way I can lose, but there's always a way you can lose in Pokemon TCG, let's be real. Especially because if my opponent manages to end me down to 1, and it's a 1 that I don't have anything in, and it's a 1 that I don't have any cards at all. Well, any cards at all. I will have 1, 2 cards, but if I don't get any energy, then I won't have an attack on board for next turn. So, I mean, that could potentially happen. But at the same time, this is also why I have Smeargle in my deck, because I can just free treat into that thing, and then Portrait to see what else my opponent has, and then just use their supporter as my own. And okay, so my opponent judged me instead of end me, so I think I pretty much just guaranteed win at this point. My opponent is probably going to try to start knocking out the Celebi, maybe just to take a prize, but either way, I do win, and my opponent just had to judge right there and hope that I didn't draw anything. But unfortunately for him, I did. I get the Plasma Energy. I can knock out anything I want, but you know what? Just for style points, just so we can knock out every single Prime in the Primetime deck, I'm going to go ahead and Red Signal in the Kingdra Prime, and then G-Booster it for the win. And that was actually a really, really awesome match. I'm so happy that I got to play against Primetime, because like I said over and over and over, that is one of my favorite decks of all time. I mean, it's so cool just running 3 different Pokemon that you normally wouldn't think would go together. I mean, you have a Lightning type. I'm saying Lightning because that's TCG. You have a Water type and a Grass type, all of them working together. And honestly, I think Prime Pokemon are just so freaking cool with the design and everything like that. I mean, yeah, full arts have the full card as the artwork of the card, but when you have the gold border, you have the gold name on the Primes, and I don't know, that's just a personal thing for me. I think it's so cool, and I'm so glad that I got to play a throwback in Primetime with my Virizion Genesect deck. But I mean, like I said in the match, that is just indicative of how being the best deck of your era means not necessarily, doesn't really mean much, as the power creep in Pokemon in the Pokemon TCG has become so real that a deck even just from one generation later can absolutely crush it 6-0. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deck and my little spin on Celebi Prime and Genesect. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. Do not forget to leave your comment in the comment section below. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.